So hello and welcome back to the channel. You join me tonight in deepest, darkest Norfolk. I'm at a ruined village called Godwick, and behind me you can see the ruined tower of the village church, which I think is called Godwick All Saints. This location was flagged to me by James Billings. If you've not seen his YouTube channel, I strongly suggest you head over there. He takes some fantastic photographs, particularly during the day. He's also a nighttime photographer, and he came here a few weeks ago and explained a little bit about the history of this site. So I'm here tonight principally to shoot the Milky Way. We're getting towards kind of late mid-May at the moment, and that's a time of year where we have lost proper darkness at any point during the night, so it never gets properly dark. We get into some depths of astronomical twilight for maybe about an hour or so, but the sky will never be the sort of inky black that you can expect when the sun is sufficiently low behind below the horizon. But hopefully we should still be able to get enough contrast in the sky to get some decent Milky Way images. I'll be starting to shoot those probably after midnight, somewhere between midnight and 1 a.m. There's a few compositions I might take beforehand, highlighting some of the constellations in the sky. So when I arrived here, it's probably about a 15-20 minute walk from the car. You'll see from the footage I had to walk through kind of 6 foot high oilseed rape fields with not a particularly clear path, so it's quite feisty getting here. All my kit and everything's covered in the little yellow leaves you get on oilseed rape, but I got here just in time to capture an International Space Station pass, a particularly bright one, a particularly high one as well, so hopefully I've got the church tower in the foreground with the nice arc of the space station passage behind it. And then over to the northwest after I arrived, I could convince myself that I could see some noctilucent clouds. Now, I'm not 100% convinced. They're probably not, but it's definitely that time of year to start looking out for them. Any time from now, really, we could get some displays. Probably it was just twilight glow, but potentially not. I'll show you the panorama I took of those on the screen now. So I'm going to have a look around and try and find some compositions, and I will take you along for the ride. Okay, so we're on to our first composition of the evening. Nice simple shot of the constellation of Cassiopeia above or behind the ruined church tower. I've got the church tower broadly centred, perhaps slightly off to the left because the ruins are on the right hand side of it. And then I've got Cassiopeia, which is just ever so slightly offset to the right of the frame above it. So Cassiopeia is that gorgeous, very distinctive W-shaped constellation. And whilst at the moment I'm taking 8-second exposures at ISO 1600 f1.8 with a 50mm lens, I will stack those. I'll take about 8 or 10 of them, stack them in sequator to reduce the noise, and then after I've done those images I will use the Case Starglow filter to take some more images of the sky. Cassiopeia is one of those constellations that responds really well to that filter. The stars stand out beautifully, and there's some really subtle colours in the stars as well, particularly sort of the bottom right of the W is a lovely kind of yellowy orangey colour which contrasts nicely with the white blues of the other stars. And then I'll take a slightly longer exposure, probably 30 seconds for the foreground, just to raise up the shadows a little bit, and then I'll blend those afterwards. So hopefully we're off to a good start. Okay, so that's the main shots done. I'm about to get the Starglow filter out and take those shots, and I'll turn this camera light off to do that so I don't get any reflections. The case filter comes in a nice little case, and it's just to the eye, just a square piece of glass, but it's absolutely transformational for some of these images. Maybe not to everyone's taste, it's probably acquired, but it's certainly a lovely sort of dreamy effect that I really like in nighttime images. So let me just turn this light off and I'll get using it. Awesome, so that's looking really good on the back of the camera. The colours of the stars are beautiful. The bottom right corner of the W in particular is a really sort of orangey colour, which you struggle to see with the naked eye, but it comes across really, really well with this filter. And you've got the silhouette of the ruined church in the foreground. I'm going to do some long exposure shots for the foreground, try and make that a bit sharper. The Starglow filter doesn't really take good foreground shots because it kind of causes a bit of blur, and hopefully that will all stitch together into a really nice picture. So which of these do you prefer? The image on the left is a stacked image without a filter, and the image on the right is a stacked image using the Starglow. Let me know in the comments. Okay, second composition of the night then is the tower in the foreground with the constellation of Leo Major behind it. Leo Major is the constellation that has an asterism in it that is a back to front question mark, a very distinctive constellation, and that's kind of wrapping around the top of the tower. It's a constellation which again lends itself really nicely to the Starglow filter. It helps those stars to really pop. I've got the tower slightly off to the right of the centre of the photograph, with Leo then kind of occupying the centre and the top left of the photograph. I'm shooting with the Samyang 24mm lens, f1.8, which I've stopped down to f1.4, which I've stopped down to f2. That's just to make it all a bit sharper. I'm shooting at ISO 1600, 13 seconds. I'll do a stack of about 8 or 10, and then the Starglow, I'll probably do a stack of about 5, and then maybe a 30-second exposure for the foreground. It is getting really dewy here now. It's absolutely sopping wet. This vlogging camera lens keeps fogging up as well, and so I do just need to keep an eye on the lenses. But it is beautifully clear and beautifully dark for the time of year. It would be stunning here if it was properly dark at any point. Can't see many light domes anywhere. It really is far away from any kind of town, really. Hopefully you can see me. Definitely getting very dewy here now, but we are on to arguably the main event. Starting to get some Milky Way shots of the sort of Cygnus Aquila region, with the Great Rift behind the church tower. I'm shooting with the unmodified Canon 6D 24mm lens again at f2. I'm shooting at ISO 3200 now, and 20-second exposures. I'll be doing a stack of about 10, and we'll then stack them and equate it to a long exposure for the foreground again. And then I'll probably switch over to the modified Canon 6D to try to pick up some of the lovely H2 regions, the lovely sort of red nebulosity that you get along the Milky Way in Cygnus, including the North American Nebula. And then a little bit later on, I'll start getting the tracker out and do some tracked shots, possibly even at 50mm to really get in onto the Great Rift. It's a beautiful night. So compositionally, not convinced I've got this quite right. I think the tower looks a little bit odd stuck over to the right, so I might actually put the tower on the left hand side and have the Milky Way over the top of it, and I might have to move up that way a bit. Give that a go and see if that sort of pleases me a bit more, but we should hopefully still have some useful shots from here. Okay, I've repositioned the shot now with the tower in the centre and the Great Rift region of the Milky Way in Cygnus right over the top, and I think I probably prefer that composition. It looks quite nice with the unmodified lens as well. It's a much more natural star colour, or Milky Way colour. So I'll bang off another 10 of these to stack them. 24mm lens, f2, ISO 3200, 20-second exposure. So we have unfortunately hit a bit of a problem with the tracker tonight. It appears that the batteries have leaked everywhere and I can't get one of them out, which is the one that I have to turn around. So I keep it in a reverse position in order to make sure I don't accidentally turn it on and the whole thing goes flat. But something has caused that battery to leak and I don't think I can get it out now. So I'm just going to have to do some more sky shots without tracking, which is a shame because that was my sort of main image I came for tonight, but definitely all still salvageable. Check your tracker before you come out. So probably the final composition of the night is a 14mm composition, so very wide. Got the tower on the right hand side of the frame, the Milky Way coming up to the top left. Pretty simple, lots of Milky Way, lots of sky. And the focus really of this is to show off the richness of the Great Rift of the Milky Way, the dark lane that runs through the middle of it. That's really taking up the majority of the frame, and I'm shooting at 25-second exposures, f2.8 and ISO 3200. Possibly should have got up to 6400, but maybe I'll give that a go in a second. Okay, well, that is it for tonight. I've definitely been fighting a bit of dew and fighting some equipment trouble with the Star Adventurer, but I've had a great evening. It's been beautifully clear. Hopefully I've got some good images. If you've enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments, and please consider subscribing to the channel. Mostly I'll be bringing you along for adventures like these. My next one will most likely be a noctilucent cloud chasing session. Really coming to the end of proper darkness now, so probably not much Milky Way shooting left to do this spring. That'll return again with different orientations in the autumn. Until then, it will largely be noctilucent clouds. Thanks a lot for coming along, and look forward to catching up soon. Okay, so that was meant to be the end of this, but I just pointed the camera north and Aurora is kicking off over there. So I've got another time lapse going with the 24mm over there, 4-second exposures, ISO 6400 with a 1-second interval, and I've maxed out the aperture to 1.4. So this is an unexpected surprise, and what a beautiful foreground to have it with as well. Awesome. So I shot a couple of time lapses. Ever the consummate professional, I managed to kick the tripod twice during the course of them, but what an amazing thing to be able to capture from this part of the world. And as the evening drew on, the fog began to come in and created a tremendous atmosphere around this old ruined church. So I hope you've enjoyed the pictures, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and look forward to seeing you again soon.